There they are, folks. The victory horns. They are live, and they sound for Nassourdine Imavov. Gets the fourth round TKO win over Jared Cannonier in the main event of UFC Louisville. But a bit of controversy. Referee Jason Herzog steps in, stops it, and very few people are happy about this stoppage. And we'll talk about that and much more here on the UFC Louisville post-fight show. We're live on the MMA Fighting YouTube channel. And thank you for joining us after this event. I am Mike Heck, and joining me, Mr. No Gray Area, the hot take kid himself, the Baron of Boop, Jed Meshew, who I'm sure has quite the message on his whiteboard. There it is. Why don't you read that for the folks, Jed, who are listening on the Pod Network?
Sean Strickland in Paris. What could go wrong? I didn't know what else to put because, I mean, all we're going to do is talk about that stoppage. So, honestly, credit to you, Jason Herzog, because otherwise, this would have been a light show. Now we can get 30 minutes on that stoppage. So, content, baby. Let's go.
Yes, I think there's something very cool to talk about on this from this card, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. But also joining us, Mr. Jose Youngs, live in New York City. He's got his Boston hat on, ready to go for Game 2. What's up, Jose?
Happy Gatsby Day, everyone. Back in 1772, a bunch of drunk Rhode Islanders lit a boat on fire and started the Revolutionary War today.
It's called
It's
what?
also Gatsby Day because we burned the Gatsby. Gaspee. Gatsby.
Okay.
I know you're in the South. Spelling is very difficult, but it's Gatsby.
I mean, I was hearing Gatsby because you're from Boston, so you can't enunciate for shit.
Letter R's don't exist where I'm from. I'm also from Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all up there.
We're all like one big place to you Southerners, but
it's New England.
it is. Guys, I got to tell you, heading into the main card, we were on pace for one of just the worst cards in UFC history. This was bad, real bad. We had some moments, and then the main card comes around. Things ramp up very, very quickly. We get some cool finishes. We get a knockout of the year contender. We get 19-year-old Raul Rosas Jr. doing his thing. We have a redemption story, which we're absolutely going to discuss a little bit later on. But right now, on the tip of everybody's tongue, on the top of everybody's mind right now, the controversial finish, Jed Meshew. Nassourdine Imavov gets the biggest win of his career. By Tuesday, he will likely be a top 5 middleweight in the UFC's rankings. This was a weird stoppage, Jed. Watching it live, I was like, not a great stoppage. Watching the replay and then watching clips on social media, the more I watch it, the worse the stoppage looks. And I know Jason Herzog is a tremendous referee. He may be the best in the business right now, but how do you react to this finish about 15, 20 minutes after it went down in Louisville?
It's a bad stoppage. I think Jason Herzog is the best referee currently going in MMA. Kind of had a tough night, frankly, because we'll talk about it later, but sort of another one of these stoppages. I think he even realized that he probably was like too early on, but then was like, whatever, we're already here. But this one, like, it's just a bad stoppage, and everybody has a bad night at the office. You know, sometimes you just don't bring your A game, but there were times when this stoppage would have been more palatable. Casey and I were talking about this offline. At multiple points, Jared Cannonier does, frankly, like turn around and run away, which is an effective form of defense, but like one that is actually like pretty aggressively prescribed against in the rule book. Like, you are not supposed to do that. And so if he had jumped in there and been like, hey, this guy is stumbling away, we're going to call it, I'd have a little more appetite for it. But by the time he does stop it, Imavov has not put enough weight on. And so Cannonier is kind of getting his legs back. He has just thrown a hook at the point that Herzog steps in. So it's just an objectively bad stoppage. And the thing about this stoppage is that it's kind of one of the worst ones because, like, there are tiers of stoppages, right? And this one is one that there's no satisfactory resolution to. Like, For other stoppages, we won't care because, okay, this was a bad stoppage on a prelim fight between two people on 4-fight losing streaks or whatever. Like that's means something to them, but in the grand tapestry of MMA, that doesn't mean as much. This is a main event fighter. This is a 40-year-old Jared Cannonier who's on a winning streak and trying to get back to the title. And he doesn't quite get robbed because, again, I don't ultimately think this changes the outcome of the fight. I had Imavov up. I know the judges actually didn't, but I thought Imavov was pretty well on his way, particularly if he didn't get the finish immediately. He was going to have taken such a lead in this fight that he probably gets the decision if doesn't get a stoppage. So ultimately kind of doesn't change that, but Cannonier can feel robbed here, and there will be no resolution because it's not a bad enough stoppage to warrant an immediate rematch or an overturning of this, but it's a bad stoppage nonetheless. And so it really threads the needle for like the most unsatisfying way that this could have ended, particularly if you're Jared Cannonier. So it's tough for him. That sucks. But also, that was a dope right hand from Nassourdine Imavov. So that was pretty cool. Like, it was a really, really good shot that started the whole thing off, and I don't want to lose sight of that either.
What do you think, Jose? I think the toughest part of the stoppage was, as Jed alluded to, Cannonier was badly hurt. And if Herzog had stepped in maybe 7 or 8 seconds before he actually stopped it, I don't think it would have been as bad. But then Cannonier lands the right hook. He didn't just throw it. He hits Imavov with that right hook. Imavov returns with a couple of punches, but nothing that was too violent on his end. And then Herzog just steps in and stops it. And Cannonier seemed like he had his wits to him as he argued this stoppage. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was just, I think it's, I mean, you guys said everything that, like, I don't need to rehash anything you guys said. Like, it just, if he had stopped at 30 seconds, like 3-4 seconds earlier, it probably would have been fine. If it had lasted 3-4 seconds longer, it would have been worse. It's just the timing of it wasn't optimal because now we have this controversy. Because like Jed said, anytime the image of a fighter turning his back and sprinting away from his opponent after getting rocked is not ideal, and that's pretty much the beginning of the end. I was surprised that there were actually a couple of Jared's fellow fighters that agreed with the stoppage. Chris Curtis, Ode Osborne, I think Miles Johns. They all said, what do you guys want? Do you want, like, you guys just bloodlust and everything like that? You want to see fighters just go to sleep? And I go, I understand protect fighters at all time, but Jared, I mean, even the broadcast said it. Jared's arms were going up to block, and he threw that hook or whatever punch it was. So I've seen way worse, and I've seen way better. This is just, if there's like a scale 1 to 10, it's like leaning towards the bad, but it's not all the way bad. It's not great, though. It's definitely not great.
Yeah. Of all the officiating that happened tonight, including the judges, this is probably like the 4th worst thing that happened tonight.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Honestly, with some of the scorecards we saw. But yeah, big win for Imavov. Jed doesn't change anything. Cannonier they could try to battle it out with the Kentucky Commission or whoever is running the show down there. Nothing's going to happen. This is going to stand as a 4th round TKO win for Nassourdine Imavov. And like I said at the beginning, he's going to be a top 5 middleweight at the end of this. So how big of a win is this? I know Cannonier has been out for a year. He's 40. Guys fought for a belt, but he's also been the name that is left out of all of these championship conversations. We just sort of have forgotten about him for the past year. How big of a win is this for Nassourdine Imavov?
I mean, it's a huge win for him structurally because it will, in the UFC's rankings, he will, I assume, move up to number 4 because they are almost always, you just bump in front of the dude you beat. Maybe that'll change for Imavov because I'm trying to think who, let me pull up and look at the rankings. No, it won't change actually because he doesn't have any losses to anybody that would jump in front of him. So he'll just move to number 4. He will be right behind Robert Whittaker as far as the UFC is concerned numerically for middleweight title rankings. That's huge for him. Maybe he will have to fight back. I know he called out Sean Strickland. That doesn't really seem likely, though I wouldn't say that it's a 0% chance, but I don't think it is likely. So maybe he has to fight back and defend, but like if you're just a top 5 dude, you're can get a title shot. Like that can just happen because somebody falls out and hey, you've got the highest number next to you. And so we can put that on a poster. So it's the biggest win of his career. It's unfortunate that it came in this fashion, particularly because Casey noted this offline. So I don't want to steal his thing, but also a very real possibility he got denied the chance to get a bonus there because he's not going to get a knockout or performance bonus for that finish. And maybe he would have gotten it. Like, Cannonier was still in a really bad way, even if I think he was fighting back. So still an unbelievable win for him and kind of launches him up to very, like, at worst, he is in the conversation. And at best, he's one fight away from fighting for a belt. So it's huge for him.
Jose, obviously, Jed will be joining me on to the next one tomorrow. AK kind of put him in that spot. So we'll do some matchmaking here. Nassourdine Imavov calls out Sean Strickland. They have fought already. Sean Strickland fought Imavov on like a week's notice. They fought at 205, and Sean Strickland won that fight pretty handily. Called him out for Paris. Don't think Sean Strickland's going to Paris.
No.
Don't love the call, but I mean, it doesn't really change a whole lot because it's just a weird division right now, considering this is part of this sort of mini Grand Prix that's going on, and it all kind of leans on June 22nd in Saudi Arabia. Khamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker is the big one here. Where does the Imavov go from here? Who would you like to see him fight next? What does this win do for him in terms of who he could be in there with next?
I mean, a win is a win in the middleweight division. It's been the most active division in terms of main events this year, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. Who should he fight next? Because the decision is so murky that I'm not even comfortable giving him the loser of because the winner of Whittaker and Khamzat could very well fight for the title next, assuming Israel fights Dricus du Plessis in Perth or wherever that is in August. And then Sean Strickland's sitting out for a title shot. Paulo Costa's coming off a loss. I think Jared Cannonier should fight Paulo Costa. I've been wanting to see that fight for a while. That could just be all kinds of fun or incredibly boring, and I'm here for either. Just going to be a wacky fight. I know Jack Hermanson called out Nassourdine at one point, but I feel like Jack is a little further back in the rankings now, especially with Nassourdine's big win. The Ikram fight would be a lot of fun, but Ikram is fighting a guy that is unranked. I think if Ikram had beaten Andre Muniz, his original opponent, that would have been a very fun fight to watch, especially in the Paris card. Who else is there? Brendan Allen is floating around out there. Marvin Vettori he's hurt, right? He was supposed to fight Brendan Allen, and then Chris Curtis replaced him. You could do the Marvin Vettori fight because Jared beat Marvin, and Nassourdine just beat Jared, so you could do the match those two up. Delitse, does he have a fight? Just off the top of my head, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I know he got a little banged up against Nassourdine. I guess
you can't
that
fight Delitse. He just fought.
Yeah, he just beat him. He just beat him. So I guess I would say Brendan Allen, Ikram, or who's the other guy I said, or Jack Hermanson, something like that. It's like the victory is too murky and so undecisive to kind of warrant this number one contender fight against a Khamzat or a Whittaker or a Strickland. I think he's like one win away. What is, because I was talking with someone of this via text because they were asking me about Imavov. Like, what's his signature? What is his signature win? Like his signature performance against a highly ranked guy? Because the Shabazian fight seems to be the one that kind of put him on the map, but that win hasn't aged especially well. And then outside of that
was it though.
Yeah, that's this one. Yeah,
before him it was Shabazian.
Now it's just the clip of the right hand that's really clean, and then they just cut away from it and don't show the end of it.
Right, exactly.
They act like that right hand knocked him out, and it's done. Like to do with all Paulo Costa's highlights.
It just cuts to someone just splices in Jared tumbling over from a Robert Whittaker head kick, and he goes, "Yeah, that's what happened."
Yeah. And then Imavov going.
It just feels like Imavov needs an actual signature win that's not controversial or short notice, or because even the Roman Delitse that had a lot of weird stuff. The Chris Curtis had a headbutt. It's just something weird always happens with Imavov, and I think he needs one more big signature win before he can even discuss a number one contender fight for him.
First of all, the UFC is just on fire right now. This is fucking insane. Dana White posts out a graphic, and many other media members who are in attendance have tweeted similar numbers. The attendance for this event, for this card, 19,578, $2.5 million gate. It is the highest grossing sporting event in KFC Yum Center history. I don't think that's a surprise. But it is also now the highest grossing UFC fight night of all time. This is insane with this card. It's insane.
I don't even think it's that big of a deal, because if I make a ticket for $2.6 million and one person buys it, that's a $2.6 million gate. I just happen to sell one ticket. Like, inflation with ticket sales doesn't do anything for me. Plus, when's the last time they've been to Louisville?
We were looking at it before, during the pre-fight show. There was probably 1,000 tickets still available, and they started at $70, $69.
Crowd was live.
Could have gone up to the door. Yeah, they got into it.
Lively.
A lot of UFC chants.
Louisville is an underrated city in America. They got a lot of history.
Good city.
They've just people never. Maybe it's a destination for people outside of the Kentucky Derby and the Muhammad Ali stuff, but I've never wanted to go to Louisville ever outside of seeing the Muhammad Ali Museum.
It's just kind of like on the way to a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a good place to stop over if you're traveling.
Yeah, like go see the Louisville Slugger, like manufacturing. It's like the bourbon capital of that area. Muhammad Ali's gravesite and museum is there. The Kentucky Derby stuff is there, which I still don't quite understand the appeal, but like as I'm saying this, I'm like, is Louisville fun? Like, I don't get it. It's never been on my radar.
Look, the crowd was lively tonight, and you know that they're a good crowd when they popped for Jared Cannonier before he even hit the arena. Like, they were losing their minds for Jared Cannonier. I honestly was like, does he have a connection to Louisville that I need to go see? Is he secretly from Louisville? Because what the hell is going on? But they're just USA, baby.
Louisville just
loved him.
The French.
They loved Raul Rosas Jr. in Louisville. I mean, huge Raul Rosas Jr. fans. Speaking of Raul Rosas Jr., one of 4 Performance of the Night bonuses. Have you guys seen this yet? Have you seen the bonuses?
No, but it can't be that.
All right, Rosas is one. All right, let's see.
I mean,
what do you guys?
Carlos Paredes has to have one. Like, that was disgusting. I assume Dominic Reyes gets one because that was dope.
And I would assume.
Well, what are we even doing here? I mean, so Bruno Ferreira is for sure getting one. There's no world in which he's not getting one. And then the 4th should be Dominic Reyes because gone.
It's not.
It's
a guy whose name starts with an R and has 4 letters, ends with an E. Yeah, Zach Reyes gets the other bonus. 20-second knockout of Julian Marquez. How does
I guess it's a 20-second, but like, come on. It's Dom Reyes, baby. Come on.
Yes. Well, we're going to spend some time talking about Dominic Reyes right now, because how do you spell redemption, Jed? Reyes. Dominic Reyes, first win in 1,965 days. UFC Boston, a rare Friday night card in Beantown. Dominic Reyes stops Chris Weidman in the first round in Weidman's debut at 205 pounds. And boy, oh boy, Dominic Reyes coming off 4 losses in a row, 3 bad stoppage losses. And I think the MMA community as a collective, we're just like, man, like, we're not rooting for Dominic Reyes to win, but it's just like, this guy like deserves to win a friggin' fight, And it was just, everything just kind of lined up beautifully. Jed goes in there. He looks sharp. He's hitting Dustin Jacoby. Jacoby's starting to land some shots. And then we see Reyes hit Jacoby with the big shot. Jacoby starts backing up. He's on wobbly legs. And I'm just like, oh my God, this might be happening. And then Jacoby falls down, gets back up, and Reyes just lands a bunch of shots. Referee steps in, stops the fight. And he does it. Dominic Reyes did it, Jed Meshew. Dominic Reyes did it. This is unbelievable. Almost 2,000 days between victories. Dominic Reyes back in the win column. Your reaction?
It was awesome, man. I talked about this on the preview show. I don't have like an emotional connection to Dominic Reyes. It's not like Dominic Reyes is one of my favorite fighters or anything like that. Like, there are fighters that I love and that I'm connected to, and you probably know many of them. I'm pretty clear about kind of where my allegiances are. Reyes is not one of those dudes, and yet I probably wanted him to win this fight more than I've really wanted any person that I am a fan of to win a fight. Not because I like Dominic Reyes, but because he just needed it. Like I needed him to have a good thing happen to him because he beat John Jones. People with eyeballs saw him beat John Jones, and that was taken away from him. And then after that, when John leaves, he is supposed to be the guy. He's okay. You don't get it, but like with Johnny Hendricks versus George St. Pierre, you didn't get it, but you still get the belt afterwards because we're gonna get you there. But he couldn't do it, and so Johnny Hendricks gets to be a champion forever, and Dominic Reyes does not. And he's been on this big losing streak, and it has been heartbreaking to watch a man who should be forever known as the Buster Douglas of MMA or whatever go down this path. And so I just wanted a win for him because he needed it to happen. And you could see in his face in his post-fight interview, he couldn't like really put thoughts together that well because it was just such a burden lifted from him to finally get back here. And so it was awesome. Like I was really, really happy for him. I like Dustin Jacoby. I'm sorry he had to be the one, but I'm glad someone lost to Dominic Reyes and that his career was not, it will always be defined by the John Jones fight in some respects, but that's not the last and final word on Dominic Reyes. He gets to have, a continuing career and legacy in this sport. And I think that's wonderful.
What'd you think about it, Jose? Because Dominic Reyes is a guy who, since the John Jones fight, has always seemed to come into fight weeks with a lot of pressure on him, always being asked about the John Jones thing, trying to relive that moment of the referees kind of getting, or the judges getting things wrong. Could have been the champion, what could have been, all of that. And now the reflection on Dominic Reyes is something that he sort of echoed in his post-fight interview. He had fun. They grinded away. He enjoyed the experience. And whatever was supposed to happen was going to happen. He was happy and smiling. We haven't really seen that from Dominic Reyes since since the John Jones fight. Heading into the John Jones fight, seems refreshed, seems back, and seems like he took a lot of pressure off himself to just go in there and do the thing and just have fun. What did you make of Reyes' sort of approach heading into this fight, how he competed, and everything he had to say in the aftermath?
I actually think he seems in very high spirits for his loss to Ryan Spann, because that's when he went to go train with Glover and Alex Pereira in Connecticut. And I remember after his media day, because that was an MSG fight in New York, he was really happy. He was joking around, and everyone was like, "Oh, Dom Reyes is having fun again. Looks like he's back." And Ryan Spann came in a little overweight, and Ryan Spann was like doing Ryan Spann things and being like a little socially awkward and not wanting to talk to anyone. And Dom Reyes was cracking jokes, and people were like, "Oh, maybe the fun-loving Dom Reyes is back, and he'll put on the performance against Ryan Spann after training with Glover and Alex." And then Dom Reyes got knocked dead. So I don't put a whole lot of stakes into fighters' mindsets going into the fight, because it felt like the same thing we talked with Dom Reyes this week was what we talked about Dom Reyes the last time. I just think this was a perfect matchup for Dustin Jacoby. For Dustin Jacoby was a perfect matchup for Dominic Reyes, and I think it was beautiful matchmaking because this fight was never going to be boring. Both fighters get hit a lot. I said this fight card was filled with matchups of guys that get got and guys that are gonna get you. And this was a perfect combination of that. I thought someone was going to sleep. I didn't know who it was, because I agree. He beat John Jones, and then he lost to Jan Blachowicz, and then he had one of the craziest performances ever against Yair Prochazka. Those are three former champions, former light heavyweight champions, who are some of the best fighters that division has ever seen. Dom Reyes just happened to be, the third or fifth best light heavyweight in the world at that time. And then Ryan Spann, I don't care who you are, Ryan Spann punches you between the eyes. Your senses aren't going to be there much longer. And like you said, Mike, Dustin Jacoby was having a lot of success, and then Dominic Reyes had that beautiful signature like counter left, the one that he landed against Chris Weidman, put him on wobbly legs, landed the knee, knocked him out. Beautiful performance. I want to see where he goes from here. I want to see him fight Anthony Smith. Both guys have talked about that for a very long time. They're both finally coming off of wins after being on long losing streaks. That's the fight. I want them to headline a fight night. Dom Reyes, Anthony Smith. I think that's the fight to make. But again, someone's going to sleep either by choke or by knockout. Fun, exciting fight. I just want to see where Dom goes from here. I'm tired of talking about the Dom Reyes is back because I don't think he ever went away. He just fought really high level competition.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. That's where I'm going on to the next one. Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith.
They had that weird beef for a while, remember?
Yeah, which is weird because Dominic Reyes doesn't seem like a guy who has
even Anthony Smith was like, anybody. I don't understand. I remember talking with Anthony Smith. He's like, I don't understand where this started, but like, I'll fight the dude if he gets a win. And now they're both have wins. So let's finally get it over with.
How about that? That was the first time Dustin Jacoby had been stopped in mixed martial arts fight via strikes in a little under a decade, since 2014. Yeah. King Mo at Bellator 123 was the last fighter to stop Dustin Jacoby via strikes in a mixed martial arts bout. So great win for Dominic Reyes.
Last one on this. Is Dustin Jacoby lost 4 or 5 now?
Something like that.
I know he lost 5.
I think he had lost 3 or 4 coming into this. So yeah.
Yeah, it is 4 or 5. I thought he beat Khalil Roundtree, if we're being honest, but fight. It is what it is. He lost to Mirzakhanov, who's really good. He beat Kennedy and Chichuku, lost to Menafield, which I don't think that loss is going to age tremendously, and then gets knocked out by Dominic Reyes. So, yeah, it's a up and down thing. This mixed martial arts is, and he's kind of a tough stretch for Jacoby.
He's been incredibly active too. He fights like 2-3 times a year.
Yeah,
so I don't think he's going anywhere.
I would completely agree.
And it's
please.
It's just a barren wasteland.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Good win for Raul Rosas Jr. against Ricky Tercios. People really hated Ricky Tercios. F you, Ricky Chance going down. Ricky, Raul was going for the fist bump. Ricky says F you to him and then throws a kick at him. And then looked like Pretty Ricky was going to maybe submit Raul Rosas Jr. late in that first round, but Raul battles through, just kind of hosses him round 2, gets it done. Bruno Ferreira with the spinning elbow, definitely in contention, at least at this point, for KO of the year. Zach Reese with a 20-second boop, Jed, of Julian Marquez. Puna Soriano looked real good in his welterweight debut. He beat the soul out of Miguel Baeza for 15 minutes, getting a couple 30-25s on the card. Ludwig Klein just keeps getting better and better. What a win over Thiago Moises. Carlos Prajes is nasty. Gets the first finish of the night. We needed this one badly against good old Chuck Buffalo. That knee to the liver, so nasty. Brad Katona did Brad Katona things. Montana De La Rosa did Montana De La Rosa things. Daniel Marcos, John Castaneda, good solid scrap. Marcos is really, really good. Denise Gomes gets the upset win over Eduardo Mora. Taylor Lapalus looked real good, dominates Cody Stamen. And Pooja Tomar gets the victory in her UFC debut against Ryan Amanda. Not a lot of people loved that scorecard.
30-27.
Yeah,
it was a weird
tough. There were a couple of those tonight, dueling 30-27s, but I was like, oh boy, we could be in for one after that one.
We were doing some stuff out there tonight.
We certainly were. So that's UFC Louisville. Let's bring in Casey. I'm sure the peeps have lots of things to say about the festivities that took place at the KFC.
The prelims were so bad.
So bad. They were so bad.
And I missed the entire Denise Gomez Eduardo Mora because I watched Savannah Marshall in PFL, and I came back was like, this is still terrible. What's happening? Come on, somebody do something.
Yeah, it was tough. Some fun with stats here. Let me pull it up. Eduardo Mora in the fight. 5 of 26 takedown attempts.
I like it. Stick to the game
26. It's crazy. She got outstruck 137-27. And then when they read the card, she was like, what? I lost? How did I lose? Craziness.
I mean, she only lost to Splitty. Also, whoever booked Brad Katona immediately after Montana De La Rosa Andrea Lee, like, you got to do better than that, man. You know what's going to happen. That was a 30-minute just, oh, come on.
I thought
But
Taylor. I know it's
kicked
a
off the
decision,
main
but
card.
I thought Taylor Lapidus looked really good. Actually, I was really impressed. I thought I don't know. I thought I don't know. I don't say he's a top 10 guy or anything like that, but I was just like, oh, this. I was just really impressed by him. I mean, just a good
Perfect
win.
game plan.
Perfect game plan. Yeah. And it might be.
He's a perfectly quality fighter.
Yeah.
It's a dude who's going to hang around and fight on every Paris card forever.
Yeah. It's just I liked it. All right. Let's see what we got here.
EG45. Imavov's striking skills are underrated. He did to Jared what Izzy was supposed to do against him. Loser of Hamzat Whitaker makes sense next. Maybe. I don't think it happens, but maybe.
I don't care for most of that.
Explain. Why?
I mean, I think he's a fine striker. I don't think people are under or overrating. He's fine. That right hand was really nifty, and I liked hearing him say that, like, yeah, we saw that he would do these stepping jabs and kind of leave his arm a little out there, and so the plan was to try and find this counter over the top. I think that's great. It's good. It's good MMA way to study and take advantage of weaknesses, but like, he's not the best. Like, he's not one of the 5 best strikers in this division, probably. I mean, I guess Izzy was supposed to do that to Jared, but Jared didn't fight the same way against Izzy, and Izzy is never going to get outside of what he is. If you are just going to let him win in third gear, he will live in third gear forever, and that was deeply frustrating. And I still pan him for it, but like, that's just the realities we live in. And no to that fight. Let's not do that fight.
I mean, that's why I hate the stoppage so much. Because I didn't even think it was that bad a stoppage. But the main thing is just kind of the momentum is gone for Imavov. Even though it should be the biggest win of his career, we're not talking about that at all. And that's the unfortunate thing about the stoppage. So, dang you, Jason Herzog.
I tend to come down on the side of
because we're like, wait, he has no highlight reel.
Just really let him beat the hell out of people in there. Because, like, in my perfect world, corners would be far more proactive in stopping fights, and so refs would really be a last resort and not like, okay, I'm going to insert myself here.
It's odd too, because I feel like, I mean, Jose, what do you think? In boxing, that's kind of a normal stoppage, I feel.
Yes, unless it's for the heavyweight championship of the world in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Because
yes,
Tyson Fury was
that was worse.
Yeah.
And they let him fight through. But yeah, boxing has a lot of
those type
especially
of
when especially when promoters pick referees, because they know some referees will let fights go longer and some referees are quick on the draw. Like, it gets a little kind of political there too. But yes, referees will. I've seen way worse stoppages in boxing and have had no problem with them. Because boxing has the standing 8 count, which is just such a game changer. Because if that keeps happening, then you just got to stop the fight.
All right. Thank you much. Got a super chat from our good friend Terrence Leverett.
Terrence,
you really feel bad for Cannonier. Speaking of which, will Lee join Kelly?
Q&A.
Q&A.
Oh, touche, Terrence. Touche. Speaking King, it's just there's a lot of grammatical issues here, so I'm just trying to figure it out. Speaking of which, will Lee join Kelly on the UFC roster tracker next week? Positive vibes only. Yeah, I mean, look, I said heading in that the fight with the most stakes to it on this entire card was Montana De La Rosa versus Andrea Lee, because this was essentially the pink slip fight on the card, in my opinion. And Andrea Lee has lost now 5 in a row. And she's not like this huge star or anything like that. She is a name and she's a veteran, but she's already fought like everybody up and coming at this point. So I kind of feel like the answer to this question, at least for me, is yes. But who the hell knows at this point? Jed, do you agree?
5 in a row and 8 of 10. She has won 2 of her previous 10 fights. You just don't need to be employed by the UFC at that number.
Why is Andrea Lee like a name? Like, why did she become like when she always gets these fights against people that are like prospects or like other veterans, but like I can't think of a performance where she all of a sudden became like a Neil Magny type figure of the division.
You should get the headline event sometime. Like
I don't think she's ever main evented.
No.
Then I have no idea.
Like I know she beat Antonina Shevchenko, and
That was a great. That win and the Calvillo win were like, okay,
Those
Those
were
are her
back
last
to back
two
wins,
doing
wins, right?
stuff.
Yep,
Yeah,
those were the last wins.
And I guess
those are only
I-
two
Those were
finishes
good
in the
wins
UFC
back to
too.
back.
and I know she's had a lot of split decisions. Like the Lauren Murphy decision in Dallas was not great, or Houston, I should say. Like remember, like that was on that wonky card. So I always view her. I always put her into like the same category as like Courtney Casey or like Angela Hill, where they get these big names and then they lose split decisions where a lot of people think they win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought she beat Macy Barber.
So did
I
I.
scored it for Andrea Lee. So that was a tough one. Like, think about where the division is now and like where Macy is now. If they had scored that for Andrea, it's a totally.
I also
what a
thought
different
Miranda
world.
Maverick beat Macy Barber.
Yeah,
I thought Andrea Lee beat Lauren Murphy, and I think Lauren Murphy got a title fight after that, or maybe a number one contender fight after that.
Yep.
So I think that's why she's just been right there, but just
She also had some semi-famous stuff happen outside of the cage.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know,
Yeah, that was a big one.
ups the profile.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
But yeah, 5 in a row. It's not a good place to be.
It's pretty tough.
Got to close out the trilogy though.
I had no
Trilogy.
It'll add to the list of trilogy fights where no fight was ever for a title.
So like Adria Lee is definitely going to BKFC, right? Like that's 100% where she's going next.
It's up to her. She could go to Karate Combat. She has a karate background.
I guess Karate Combat. I forget that's like they're going to be a player for the next like 9 months until they go back or whatever.
She is an amateur Muay Thai and kickboxing champion, so her skills would most likely want to include.
I was informed that the woman Savannah Marshall fought was a kickboxing world champion, and so I'm starting to not believe that as a statement. That statement has all the weight of high school wrestler to me at this juncture.
Yeah.
If Lucas Moran's not telling me about them, they ain't real.
She can go to PFL. They need flyweight. They need women's flyweights bad.
No, they've got boxers. They're doing fine.
They get some.
Yeah,
Dakota Chava's got to fight somebody competitive at some point.
Well,
it's fine. The next
Dakota's next fight, she will have a very tough fight. Her next fight, so
we'll see.
Yeah, they're still gonna throw Andrea Lee in the tournament just at the top.
Liz Carmouche will win her next fight, but not make the playoffs. It's gonna be one of those things.
That will be the funniest thing.
It's gonna happen.
Amusing.
All right. Super chat from Left Lane MMA.
Got the Imavov pick right, so 8 and 6 on picks. There you go. Congrats. I think all of us picked Imavov.
I for sure picked Imavov.
I picked Jared Cannonier after his walkout.
It's a good walkout. They both had good walkouts.
I liked both of their walkouts. They were fun. I was also 8 and 6 Left Lane. I didn't believe in Dom Reyes.
I don't even pick fights. I'm not part of the Tapology League.
I was also 8 and 6. But I got the last 4 correct.
You can always join if you want to pick fights, Jose. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
It's against my moral code.
Hey, I got and I got Imavov 4th round KO. So
you're a sicko.
Yeah, I know. Me and Herzog were like.
I did get Dominic Reyes 1st round KO, so I was pretty stoked about that one.
I was confident in Reyes. Super impressive win though.
How?
Because
how can you be confident in this man?
Because I don't think he sucks yet.
I agree that he doesn't suck, but like I had no confidence in him.
I had confidence. I believe.
Also, like a terrific win. I don't love how like gun shy he was immediately. That doesn't bode well for future, but doesn't matter. He got the win tonight. That's what matters.
That's what matters. Confidence at a sky high.
He just knocked out a glory kickboxer. He just knocked.
Sure did. The second strongest base in MMA. So behind being a hoss / world's strongest man.
Yes. God.
That's clear. Like that's the best
I
thing
got
that
so
happened
many
this
texts
weekend,
about
and it's not
that.
even fault.
Yeah.
I got so many texts from people I haven't talked to in forever about that fight more than anything else. The freaking Eddie Hall fight.
Shaheen and I were talking about this yesterday. Like a couple of times this year, I've just been working on a Friday and it's been dead. And then some insane MMA organization does something awesome. And we get to spend the rest of the day like watching a 5-on-1 fight for free on YouTube. Or watch Eddie Hall power bomb a man and then send him to the shadow realm. And then I didn't realize it until like 18 times later. They restart that fight. After they get the dead guy out of the cage, they start Eddie Hall versus the small man 1-on-1, and then he obliterates him too. It's the best. It was so much fun.
Wait, so when you do a 2-on-1 match and you kill one of them,
When
it's
one
pretty
guy
much
goes down, you still get to go 1-on-1.
Oh man, the other guy's
Wow.
like, he's that must suck for the other guy. Like, ugh.
They're
It was
DJs.
deeply
They're not
funny.
even-
Eddie just kind of
they're
like
not even
runs
fighters.
into him. He falls over and he just covers up and waits for the referee to stop it. Like he very clearly is aware what's happening once it's 1v1.
You guys should watch the press conference, the pre-fight press conference after this. It is great.
I mean, I would now. I didn't know this was happening until like
Yeah.
midday Friday.
The press because they were like two DJ twins or whatever, and Eddie Hall had like his big water bottle that he carries around with him, and he's like answering a question, and one of the twins just stands up, walks over, and just takes his water bottle and starts drinking it. And he's like,
Power move.
I own your water bottle, and then I'm gonna own you on Friday. And Eddie Hall is like so flummoxed by what is transpiring. He's like, what? Like, because like who does?
Power
And they
move.
faced off. They faced off with one of the twins was sitting on the other one's shoulder, so they could look Eddie Hall in the eyes. And then they openly slapped Eddie Hall in the face, and then Eddie Hall just shoved him off the top of his brother.
It's the best. It
Oh,
was so
unreal.
good. If you guys haven't seen it, go to MMAfighting.com. Great website. Clips and info up
Yeah.
there. It was awesome.
Move over, Max
It's
Holloway.
hilarious. It's
They called off
hilarious.
freaking PUDs after and immediately
I
in my
love
top
that.
5 fights. Like immediately in the top 5 fights I need to see.
I love that. Do it
He
at a stadium,
boxed,
KSW.
He boxed the Mountain too.
He did. That was like less fun because like the Mountain kind of learned how to really box, and
Yeah.
Eddie like learned how to sort of box.
Yeah,
And also the Mountain's like younger and clearly bigger and more athletic, but it was still fun.
6'9". Anyway,
Jeremy, thank you. Who should Cannonier fight next? I
Eddie
feel like
Hall.
he still has a lot of gas left in the tank. Looks great for 40. Also great to see Reyes get a win. Agree with that. Ikram Aliskerov is going to win decisively next week, so that will be my
Yeah,
choice.
that's the.
I
place
like
he's
the
probably
Paulo
in,
Costa
right?
fight.
That's not
Paulo
bad,
and
too.
I like
Jared,
that.
Both coming off of losses. He beat Strickland. Jared beat Sean. It's kind of like a little triangle. They both had their shots against Israel. They're both on the Jared's. I don't know how old Paulo is, but they're both veterans of the game. They've just never been matched up. I like that fight.
I like that. That's
Do
good.
you put Cannonier on the I don't know what you want to call it, prospect kind of list where like if you want to be a top 10 middleweight, you got to beat Jared Cannonier, that type of list?
I would.
I can't think of any names right now for some reason, but like
I
you know,
think if he
guys,
loses one
There's a lot
more
of dudes.
problem, because anytime you fought for a title and then because he hasn't lost multiple in a row yet. I think if you beats a Paulo or an Ikram, then he's right back there in contention. But if he drops another one, then he's gonna fall into that gatekeeper status.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I was gonna say just I don't know, I don't I was just throw a guy like Zach Reese versus Cannonier.
No, that's way big. But like Michelle Pajeda or Caio Baralho just sort of
or Michelle
deserve,
Pereira, like right there. You know,
like they
yeah.
deserve a kick up
Pereira's
like
a
that.
good one.
But I just wouldn't do it because I feel bad that Cannonier got like a little bit screwed. Like if he had just lost clean, then I would throw him to Michelle Pajeda and be like, whatever, that's your job now, man. But since like the way it went down, I'm okay with the Costa fight. Like, yeah, let these two dudes have it.
That's fine.
Loser
Pereira
becomes
can fight.
gatekeeper.
Yeah, Pereira can fight Jack Hermanson in the meantime or whatever.
Kiedis Jr. for Super Chat.
Super chat.
Super chat.
All right. Great Super
Big
Chat.
if true.
Nice. Respect.
Respect.
Big if true.
Big if true.
I gotta quality check these things. We're getting some weird ones, so I don't want to I can't throw all your. Some of these, hey guys, some of these super chats, even though you're paying for them, I'm not gonna throw them on the screen just because you pay for them. Just want to say heads up to you guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Keep your language
Michael.
happy.
Yeah.
I, like Jed, needed Dom to win for my soul. If Reyes gets Smith fight, how specifically will Smith then aggressively discredit Dom's skills?
That's a good question.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't know how he'll do it, but
When was that
Anthony
beef?
Smith.
I don't even remember that at all.
It was back when I think it was after the Jan Blachowicz loss. Anthony Smith was winning and Dobb was losing, so they were kind of on different trajectories. And they had both lost to John, so people were kind of trying to matchmake them. And if I remember correctly, Anthony Smith said, "I'm down to fight Dom. He just needs to get a win." And then Dom took that personally because fighters are a sensitive bunch of individuals. And they're like, Anthony was even like, "I don't know why this is happening, but like, I'm down to fight. I'm super down to fight." Because then they were both on the desk for, I think it was when John fought Cyril, because they had a bunch of John's old opponents to do like a panel on like the ESPN desk. So it was like Rashad and Anthony Smith and Dom Reyes and maybe someone else. I can't quite remember, but Anthony Smith someone asked him like, was it weird being on the desk with Dom? And he was like, a little bit, because I just didn't know where we stood. I don't know why, if we were still beefing or not, but now's the time to make the fight.
yeah, agreed.
Okay. Thank you much.
Or the loser of Olberg and Jamal Hill, because I know Olberg's been wanting to fight Dom.
Dude, that's tough.
No, he got a much bigger fight. So, Ludwig Klein versus Miktabek Oralby would be sick.
Oof.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Be a fun little scrap.
It is. It's just that feels like that's mean to Ludovic. Like,
Yeah.
this man's on
Just
an
beat Thiago
unbelievable
Moises.
streak right now. Just beat like the guy who's like fringe top 15. He's the guy to get into that, and then you're giving him the unranked monster. It's just a tough.
Oralby is going to be like Ikram, where at some point you're just going to have to give him a highly ranked guy because no one's going to want to fight him. Like Thiago Moises, Thiago could fight him because like Oralby's coming off wins over like Udos Medic and Elvis Brenner, who are both very good
fighters.
Yeah,
very elite prospects. Those two are going to be tough to matchmake.
I'd do like Grant Dawson, or I would do CDF for Klein.
Someone said in the chat, I saw someone said Jalen Turner because Jalen's lost 3 or 4.
Don't hate that.
I don't hate
Jalen Turner's
that
going to welterweight. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm manifesting the Jalen Turner welterweight run here.
Also, I routinely mistake Udos Medic and Ludovic Klein because I interviewed them days apart and they look exactly the same. And Jalen's already beaten Udos Medic, so he might as well fight Ludovic Klein because they're the same person. Very different type of fighters too.
I just need Jalen to go up to welterweight. Then I can believe in him again.
Michael says light heavyweight could use Cannonier. Agree. Do we agree with this?
Light heavyweight
Can
could
we move up to 205?
Light heavyweight could use a bullet in the head. That division is god awful. It's so bad, man. Like, and also, Cannonier, honestly, like, I know he was a heavyweight. He is not, like, he was easily dwarfed by Imavov. He is not big enough to be light heavyweight.
I don't think he should go. He's still too small.
Yeah.
A little too small.
Like, just hang out at middleweight, fight dudes.
He's a disciplined guy too. So he doesn't walk around like super heavy. Like he's one of those guys that's in shape all the time, ready to go.
Terrence, thoughts on this UFC behind the scenes? They bullied Aljo hard.
I
Is
haven't
the
watched it.
Roku
You guys?
thing? I haven't
Is that
either.
Yeah.
I
Is that
watched
the thing
it.
they were promoting on the
Yeah.
broadcast? Okay,
It
yeah.
is very interesting because it shows a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. It is also very like a lot of that has to be staged. So much of that, like just bad acting.
It looks staged in the trailers.
Yeah.
Like
If it's
it also
produced
looks
by
deeply propaganda.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it's produced by the UFC, it's not a documentary, people. Like just like Embedded
Yeah.
is not a documentary. It's not Embedded. This is everything's promotional. So
Are
it's
you
done by the
telling me
UFC.
The Bachelor's not a documentary? Because I don't believe you.
Like the scene when
I just got
Hunter and Dana are telling John Jones what his injury is and that he has to go. I'm like, how? John went to the
Why are you
doctor.
getting this?
How are you getting this information first? And then John can't act at all. So I'm like, oh, that's just this. This is bad. This is real bad. It's real bad.
Was the Dana Ali thing
Yeah,
from the doc?
that part
Where
was
he said
interesting because
Shavkat versus Usman.
well, that
And
was
he's like, no, he
Habib.
wants to fight Wonder Boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Habib
and
was
Habib there
like
too.
that part was interesting because Habib is not an actor, nor will he ever pretend to be an actor. So he'll just tell you what he thinks. And the best part of that is he said something about like, oh, veteran fighters that give up and coming guys their shot deserve like more legacy or whatever his phrasing was, because if they win, they're right back there, and if they lose, they lost to a monster. And then Ali starts to talk, and Habib just like shuts him down immediately. Habib's like, stop talking, and then continue on his conversation. So Habib was funny in that, but outside of that, it wasn't my. It was just a long embedded.
Yeah.
And you have to watch it on Roku. I don't know. Is that a
Roku.
streaming service? Roku. Is that a
Roku.
streaming service? I don't even know what that is.
It's just a type of.
Another thing.
It was
Well, no,
like-
it's not like a Netflix
Roku's been
thing,
around
like,
forever.
No, I know
yeah,
Roku,
Roku's been around forever.
but I thought Roku was just like a box. I don't know. It was like I don't
Yeah,
know
they have
what
their
Roku
own
is
channel on their box.
It's a plug-in or a channel, I think. I think they have just an
Yeah.
app you can download now.
Like if you have LG TVs, you get like the LG, like whatever.
Oh
store.
yeah, I saw those like when you keep scrolling. There's all these other
Yeah.
boxes. I'm like, what is that? I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not- I'm
Roku
stepping
has
Sorry,
its own-
Grandpa. Sorry we have to explain technology to you.
You
I
don't know.
remember when the internet made this noise.
It's another freaking streaming service. What? I'm asking. It's like, do you pay for it? Is it free? I don't know. They just say on Roku. It's like, okay, that doesn't mean anything to me.
I do not have Roku.
Grandma.
There are other ways to watch
That
it.
was uncalled for, Jed. That was funny.
Back in my day, fighters still got paid the same.
Jeremy asks, is Thiago Moises just not built for this? Seems like he can't push it to the limit when fights get tough.
I mean, have you seen who he's lost to? Literally, like Benoit Saint-Denis, Islam, Damir Ismagulov, Benil Dariush, like top 3 to 4 lightweights. Those are very good people. Like it's not about like there are levels, and it's like championship level, and then like rank 6 to 10. He's fine.
But you know why fighters are incredibly sensitive? Because like, thank you for your super chat, Jeremy. But like, imagine a guy like Thiago Moises, like just years and years of practicing this dangerous martial art. He gets to a point. He's fighting the best fighters in the freaking world. He's in one of the top 15 best fighters in the freaking world, in arguably the best weight class in the world. And then people go like, are you built for this, bro? That's just wild.
Like dude has wins over Bobby Green, Michael Johnson, Alex Hernandez. Like dude's a really talented fighter.
Yeah,
like
super
it
talented.
headlined against Islam.
Yeah. I don't know.
The Hernandez fight is a thing of beauty. Like it really is.
Yeah.
It's a striking
mauled him.
clinic, man.
And that's
It's so
that's
good.
uber like that string of victories right there where he tapped Michael Johnson with like an Achilles like lock or something, and then he fought Bobby Green in a war, and then he pieced up Alex Hernandez on the feet. Like You know what we were talking about with Jared Cannonier? Like, is that Jared's like role in life? That's Thiago Moises. You're not top 15 if you can't beat him.
Thiago Moises
He's just a high level martial artist.
world at his job.
He's what?
Yeah, he's just
It's like one of the 25 best dudes in the world at lightweight.
Not
I
good
think
enough.
Definitionally, that means you're built for this.
Not good enough.
But, you
Jed.
know.
You got to be top 5 or you're awful.
Y'all don't. I don't think any of you guys watch. I'm sure, Jose, I'm certain you haven't watched this. Like, you know, they've done like the Drive to Survive stuff. Netflix has done those documentaries for basically everything. The golf one is called Full Swing. And the first season, there's a pro golfer called Joel Damon. I don't know if any of you know him, but like he's that dude. And he had this amazing quote that I just wish MMA fans heard, because they're like talking about, Joel, you could be so much better than you are. And you're like so talented. It's like, dude, somebody's got to be the 40th best guy in the world. Might as well be me. And like, it's the best quote, because it's like, yes, someone does have to be that. Now, granted, when you're the 40th best pro golfer, you're making millions of dollars still. But, you know, Thiago Moises not doing that. But still, like, somebody's got to be number 36 out there. And that's just Thiago Moises.
All right.
This was one of my favorite quotes in a long time. And I was just like, Joel Damon, man of the people right there.
Favorite card you've seen live in person? Mine was UFC 141 until I went to UFC 300. Now my favorite sporting event and review show ever. He boops you and you die. Favorite card you've seen live in person from Spencer, Jed? I think I know the answer to your question.
So I've at this point, I've actually seen a lot of cards live and in person, but the very obvious answer is 236.
Yeah.
That's the Dustin Poirier Max Holloway 2 and Israel versus Kelvin Gastelum. So that was the number 1 and number 2 fight of the years that happened back to back. So going to be pretty tough to beat that card, honestly.
Best one for you, Jose?
249, UFC 249. Because
it's a good one.
There were.
I don't know numbers off the top of my head.
There were
Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson.
Me, John Morgan, and Oscar Willis were the only reporters on planet Earth that were inside that bubble. So that was a trip, because that was the empty arena fight. That was pre-Apex.
That is pretty fun. Shout out to the Triller card, which was weird as shit, but also deeply fun.
Yeah.
Ben Askren got killed. It was a concert with fights happening in the same venue but separate. It was weird as hell and deeply amusing.
Honestly, UFC 202 and UFC 196 were electric. The two Conor Nate fights.
Oh,
those were electric.
Yeah.
Dude, the first time Casey and I met was at UFC 196.
We can talk about the first Conor fight, because in particular it was at the MGM Grand, and
100%.
MGM Grand just rules for fights, and actually I'm super excited because I'm getting to see Tank Martin at the MGM Grand this Saturday.
Oof.
Nice. Yeah, that's quite fun.
Fuck, I missed
Casey,
that.
Did you go to Kimbo Dada? Who do I know who was at Kimbo Dada?
Oh, I was at Kimbo Dada. I sat right.
Yeah, that has to be number 1.
As far as it was the Shaheen. I think Luke was there. We sat press row, and it was incredible. People always say it was the worst fight ever. No, it was the freaking best fight.
This is literally a top 5 fight of all time.
It was so good. That's
one of the when people DM me asking for fights to watch. That's on my Rolodex of fights.
This is 100% in my top 5 fights of all time.
And it was the whole fight week too, because I had the whole baby nuts thing. It was it was a great time.
It's so good.
It was a great time.
I forgot until we did the damn on that how quickly he goes to baby nuts.
It was so good.
He just says like an innocuous comment and then immediately like, no, you won't. Bet you my nuts are bigger than yours, like out of nowhere. It is the best.
You fool! You fool!
You fool! R.I.P. Kimbo. I love you so much.
Love him.
Kimbo would be killing it in influencer boxing.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
we live in
Kimbo
a world.
Jake Paul would have been the first Netflix
No,
fight.
Kimbo versus Mike Tyson in a influencer boxing match would shatter pay-per-view records. Absolutely decimate records.
Actually, that
That's
would be
the
the
move.
first Netflix fight. Yeah, that
Yes,
would have been it.
without question. I was talking about this with someone because when Fedor wanted to fight Kimbo, I was like, when Fedor wanted to fight Mike Tyson boxing, I'm like, that would be massive. What would be a bigger fight for like an MMA boxing crossover? And we determined that if Kimbo was alive, it would be that. Nothing would surpass that.
I agree. Honestly, that probably would be the biggest.
Make it happen. Make
of all
it so.
time.
Someone figure out how to make it happen.
Make it so. All right,
Thank
take
you,
a couple
Matt.
more.
Yeah.
then we
Oh,
gotta
but real quick,
roll.
yeah. Actually my favorite from beginning to end was in Japan, pre-pandemic, Ryzen 20, the New Year's card. That was the final card that Manel Kopp
That has to be
won.
amazing.
Manel Kopp won. He beat Kyaskar in the main event. Tenshin had a great fight. Sohei Ham versus Yaki Hamasaki was this great fight. Hamderley. And the last fight that Yuri Prohaska had, where he retired CB Dalloway that night. It was
CB Dalloway and shoes.
Yeah, shoes. And just seeing in Japan, and the fact that, and then it was a New Year's Eve, and then I got to be part of when they count down to the new year in the ring. It was just, yeah, I'm done. I was like, this is just the greatest thing ever. But yeah.
Nice.
Before I quit this sport, I will see a New Year's Eve card in Japan. That seems like one of the highlights that you could have in it.
Oh yeah, and all the fireworks. Yeah, I hope I tell that to all the fans I meet. Like, save up a few $1,000, make it out there. Make it out to Japan one time to see a fight out there.
And Japan's cool.
Also,
Yeah,
not for nothing. Cool. UFC 141 is a very good card. Spencer, that was Lesnar over him.
Oh,
and Nate Diaz, Cowboy, and Johnny Hendricks flatlines John Fitch in about 10 seconds.
Yeah,
pretty sure Alexander Gustafsson was on that card.
Yeah. All right.
But I mean, yeah, UFC 300 is a pretty good card to have been in attendance for.
Decent. Yeah, that's not a bad one to go to.
That is cool.
It's not a bad one.
I saw some video where all the media was trashing it, so I'm not sure how good it was.
True. That's true. See, I was back. I barely watched any of the fights. I was doing interviews in the back.
I guess I'm tripping. Just feel like he quits when things get tough. I was rooting for him though.
Back.
I mean, sometimes you do. Look,
I mean,
when things get tough, quitting is a perfectly reasonable answer.
To be fair, if Benoit Saint-Denis kicked me in the stomach, I would quit.
Yes, firm agree.
Everyone that lost tonight.
If I was fighting Islam, I would quit before I started fighting him.
Oh, imagine.
Thorellis, Jed, what's harder, law degree or covering an Apex card?
I mean, there's honestly a lot of overlap in those two, just because like covering an Apex card is just a lot of stuff you don't want to do, which is like a lot of law school. So I'll default to law degree because it's longer than an Apex card, but not by that much, you know.
It's also more expensive.
It is that, but I can't, when I'm covering an Apex card, I can't get hammered drunk, and I imbibed a lot during law school because everyone does, because it's law school.
All right, thank you much. Oh man, Jeremy, got more.
Only pro MMA show I went to was 281, and it was electric. Too expensive to go in the Northeast these days. 281 was a good one to go to.
Was that the Salt Lake card?
No clue.
No, that was MSG.
That was Izzy actually
Pereira won
291. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Izzy Pereira won. Yeah.
I mean, any MSG card is going to be a pretty decent card to attend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Except dealing with those security.
Chat's got a lot of good people doing stuff.
Michael, I wish MMA Fighting do a small run of the T-shirts AK and Jed have that Mike himself still needs.
I have one.
Like
buddy, don't we all? Don't we all wish that, Michael?
Do you know where they went? You know where they all went? I've told
the
the story a few times.
They went to Habib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, Habib's team took them all. All of them. Literally all of them.
We got to do
They're
a run
great
of
shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried
That
to
it?
make a hat once, and Lids wouldn't make it for me because the MMA fighting logo is like trademarked or copyright or whatever. They don't, even if you work for them, they won't make it because they want you to start selling them illegally. Rude.
I mean, somebody on Etsy could make that though for sure.
Yeah. I mean, look, we have a lot of things that we could turn into shirts. Like the Heck of a Morning logo is a shirt by itself. It's just so good.
I tried to
Jed
make
has
I
Jed
tried
has a
to make an
million
anything
quotes.
but fighting shirt,
So
anything
good.
but fighting t-shirt, and I also couldn't do that because it's too similar to the Akita poster.
Splitty City. I mean, there's so many things.
Dude, do you know we could have
Jeremy,
sold so many boob shirts? Like we could have sold so many boob shirts. If you could get me in the room with the people who have determined that we can't have merch for whatever reason, like so many boobs. We could have sold so many flyweight undershirts. Could have done so much of this merch shit. Don't
Yep.
get me started. It's infuriating that we don't have merch.
Yep,
It
someday.
is 2024. Every
Jeremy
company
must have
merch except us.
shout out to Jeremy. Must have made
Yeah.
some coin with the betting tonight. Back at it again.
Jeremy,
By the way, guys,
yeah,
appreciate what you do. Always great to have content to listen to during the work week. We appreciate you, Jeremy.
We
Appreciate
love
you.
all of you.
And everybody
Except
and everybody
Cross.
else.
Except Cross. Cross and
Except
us.
Yeah, we appreciate Cross as well. All right,
We respect Cross.
don't.
We don't love Cross.
true. Okay, well, we're done. UFC Louisville is a thing of the past. Jed and I will do some matchmaking tomorrow. Something tells me it'll be the shortest on to the next one of all time. So if you got picks, send them to me, and then we'll read whatever we can on the program. And then next week we get ready for, you thought this lineup tonight on paper was a doozy. You just wait till UFC Vegas 93. Oof. That's Retire versus Alex Perez and a whole bunch of other things. that are
Legitimately one of the worst cards I've ever seen on paper.
But I will be in Vegas.
And it starts at 10 p.m.
Ooh.
happening. No, it does not.
Pretty sure the main card starts at
Yeah.
10 p.m.
Wow.
Get the hell out of here. I posted the photo too. Where the hell is it?
So it's going head to head against.
Oh,
It's going like the
you're
main card's going head to
right.
head against the boxing. Wow.
Oh. Timmy Kawamba is in the featured bout of next week's card, by the way. Just giving you a little heads up there. But we'll be covering it, and we'll be talking to all of you about it next week here on the MMA Fighting YouTube channel and podcast network. For Jed, for Casey, for Jose, I'm Mike Heck. Thank you for watching. Good night, everybody.
Love you.